Hello, this is Danny. Welcome to a whole nother awesome review. Today I'll be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So Mark Webb has given us another sequel, of course, to his franchise, The Amazing Spider-Man, the Sony franchise of Spider-Man, basically. So here's my little review on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've given this a lot of thought. Between the first Amazing Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and here are my problems with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. First of all, at the beginning of the movie, the Green Goblin is dead. He's dead, or at least they tell us he's dead. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe he'll come back in the next movie or the movie after that. Who knows, right? I mean, characters die. But here's the thing: there's no build-up to the Green Goblin. In the comics, it was just so much better because you had the Green Goblin, and then you had his son becoming the Green Goblin. And Sony's going in a different direction, of course, because they do not want to be like the Sam Raimi movies. Now, a lot of people say the Sam Raimi movies aren't true to the original comics, and that Mark Webb's web of films are closer to the comics. That is not true at all. In fact, the Amazing Spider-Man was pretty true to the comics, but the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just like, whoop! You know what I'm saying? Now, we're not talking about the Ultimate Spider-Man here. We're talking about the Amazing Spider-Man, the comic series that this is supposed to be based on. So here we go, right? First of all, the Green Goblin dies at the very beginning. Spoiler alert. Spoiler! Okay? And then we just find out that, basically Harry becomes the Green Goblin too because he wants Spider-Man to give him his blood because he has this disease, right? And he won't give him his blood, so he finds out that there is another spider that he can use that and that turns him into basically the Green Goblin too. But we have nothing to do with the original Green Goblin. And that really makes me mad because I wanted to see at least just a glimpse of the original Green Goblin. I don't care about Harry. I don't care, okay? Here's the thing. Harry's a great character, okay? They explored that in the Sam Raimi series, alright? But I wanted to see the original, Green Goblin, basically, and that whole him becoming kind of like his father kind of thing. Or they could have just went off and did the whole Hobgoblin thing. That would have been fine. Then they could have totally avoided the whole Green Goblin and Harry thing altogether. But they decided to skip the original first Green Goblin and just go to his son becoming the Green Goblin, which is mind-blowing to me as a Spider-Man fan that they would do that. It really makes me mad. Okay, so I know I know I'm pretty fair on movies and everything, and I give a lot of 10 out of 10s and everything, but this film has a lot of things wrong with it. And the first of all, I just don't think that this film follows the comic books that well, basically. The first one followed the comics book fine, and I'm fine with adaptations. But when they just skip the original Green Goblin entirely and go to his son becoming the Green Goblin, that's when I get mad. Now, I don't know if they pushed that over to have the original Green Goblin in the sequels or something. I don't know. This whole Harry becoming the Green Goblin thing is just stupid to me. And Harry looks like a freaking troll. He doesn't even look like the Green Goblin. He's not even freaking green, okay? Don't even get me started on that. And they're going with the whole mutated Green Goblin concept, basically, from the other Spider-Man comic books, not the original Amazing Spider-Man, where Green Goblin actually wears a mask. No, they're going with the mutated one. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, but you know what? It would have been really awesome if they would have went with the mutated Rhino concept, except they go with Paul Giamatti as Rhino in a freaking Power Rangers giant rhino suit going around shooting everyone. I mean, Spider-Man doesn't even have a fight with Rhino in this movie. The movie ends, okay, with him about to fight Rhino. It is the worst superhero ending I've ever seen in my life. This was me when I was watching that scene. I was like, that was my reaction. I was so pissed off that they did not show the Rhino fight. And basically, Rhino is just used as one of those characters, that's pushed aside. One of those side characters. Oh, Rhino's not the main character, it's Electro. Let's just end on him fighting Rhino. That's the perfect plan. No, that's a horrible plan. Oh, but Paul Giamatti will have more time maybe in the sequel to this movie, in the Sinister Six movie. Who cares about that? I like character development. There's no character development in this movie. We barely get to know Rhino at all. Rhino is the most flat character in this whole entire movie. They don't reveal anything about Rhino. He's just put there, and it's so stupid. I mean, it really makes me mad as a Spider-Man fan. Of course, they concentrate on the whole love triangle between him and Gwen Stacy type of detail, in this movie, and that he keeps having flashbacks of her father everywhere. Basically, Gwen Stacy's father in this movie is like Uncle Ben in the Sam Raimi movies, except it's Gwen Stacy's father. I mean, that's fine. I thought that part was kind of cool, but I don't know. It just, the whole love story in this movie, it was okay, but I felt they kind of played it out a little bit too long. Where in the first movie it was done really well, in this movie it's a little bit overdone type of detail, and I don't know. I have a lot of problems with this film. I of course enjoy the Sam Raimi films. I like Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. A lot of people hate the third film because they say there's flaws in it and there's this and that. But just seeing Spider-Man, fighting people and talking on his cell phone really pisses me off. I don't like that shit. I don't want to see Spider-Man on his cell phone talking to Gwen Stacy while he's fighting someone. That really makes me angry. I don't want that. I don't even want to see Spider-Man on a cell phone. And Mark Webb pushes that because he's trying to advertise Sony's cell phone. If you really pay attention, he's using a Sony cell phone when he's talking to Gwen Stacy. He barely has any money, and his aunt is out there working, as a nurse basically at a hospital, and he can barely pay rent, and Jenny Jameson's barely paying him anything, and here he is with this really expensive Sony cell phone. I mean, I get it, everybody has a cell phone, but why would Peter Parker have a Sony cell phone? Does he have enough money to pay for that? He barely has enough money to get by on rent. I mean, I don't get the whole concept. And this whole concept of him in the first movie with his skateboard, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that because Spider-Man is like a nerd. He doesn't go around skateboarding and stuff. They got that from the Ultimate Spider-Man. I get that. He wanted to be like a hipster. He's got his hair, he's smooth, he's suave. But here's the thing, okay? Spider-Man is a freelancer. He barely has any money to pay rent. That's who Spider-Man is. I know who Spider-Man is. And Spider-Man wouldn't have a Sony cell phone. That's ridiculous. And in this film, he has a Sony cell phone. At least in the Sam Raimi films, we had kind of like a reality check about where Peter Parker was. He barely had any money, and to even pay rent, and that made sense because that's who Peter Parker is. And this film, it's like, really? Like, oh yeah, he's got enough money because he's working for J. Jonah Jameson, which, by the way, you never see in this movie. You just see a nice Google message about to J. Jonah Jameson saying wrong, him saying wrong back to Peter about some picture that he took. Oh yeah, that's really clever. Yeah, they don't even show us J. Jonah Jameson. We don't even get to see the Rhino fight at the end. I mean, what did I pay money to see this movie for? To see a really cool CGI Spider-Man falling through the skies, to see Spider-Man's backstory with his parents. I mean, that was pretty interesting, seeing his backstory with his parents, seeing the CGI Spider-Man falling through the air. Really good CGI in this film, but no J. Jonah Jameson, no epic Rhino fight. I mean, I don't know. There is a lot of stuff wrong with this film. Okay, I could go on and on about what's wrong with this film, and I mean, this just proves the haters wrong that hate the Sam Raimi series because Spider-Man goes like this and this. I mean, big deal. Okay, at least Sam Raimi's Peter Parker made sense. And he didn't have a Sony cell phone. He could barely pay rent. That made sense. This movie doesn't make any sense for Peter Parker. Peter Parker should be freaking poor right now and barely have any money to pay his rent. He's a freelancer, photographer, barely getting paid any money from J. Jonah Jameson. Maybe you got some good, pictures of Spider-Man, whatever, right? I don't know. They're not even showing us that, and that's what's really bugging me. They didn't focus that much on Peter Parker. They more focused on Electro, which was cool to see. Electro's kind of like backstory about how people were like really mean to him at his job and how he got electrocuted and become Electro. I mean, that was really cool, and there are a lot of really cool scenes in this film where Electro, plays around with like electricity, makes his own like theme song, and Spider-Man's like, I hate this song. That was pretty fun. I mean, that was pretty cool. But I mean, Jamie Foxx does a fantastic job at playing Electro, which is really good. The special effects are really good. But I don't know. I just feel like they could have did a lot more in this movie. And Felicia Hardy as Black Cat, I mean, she barely talks in the movie. I mean, you just see Felicia, and he's like, oh, Felicia, make sure you never fire Felicia and that she always works for me. I mean, that's what Harry's saying in this movie. I mean, big deal. I mean, that's all we get with Felicia and her telling Harry where he can get, the radioactive spider DNA so that he can become the Green Goblin. Big deal, right? I mean, there's nothing about Felicia. I know she's going to become Black Cat in the next movie, which is pretty sweet. I mean, Black Cat is one of my favorite characters, actually, and so is Mary Jane. I always found Mary Jane far more fascinating than Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy is just a blonde chick that comes from a really nice family, where Mary Jane comes from a broken family, abusive father. I always found her much more interesting, and Mary Jane never puts up with Peter Parker's bullshit, but Gwen Stacy does. I always thought that Mary Jane was like the firecracker in the room, And I always thought that like her lines were more well written about her calling him Tiger and everything. I always thought Mary Jane was a far more interesting character than Gwen Stacy. But it was cool to see Gwen Stacy in 2 films basically. But seeing her die at the hands of Harry Osborn really pissed me off because we know that in the original comic books it was his father that killed him. The original Green Goblin. So they had to change that too. Oh yeah, it's an adaptation. Yeah, that's fine. They can change things. But that really, really makes me angry that they would do that. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that I feel like they tried to change it up. I mean, I don't know. I thought Jamie Foxx did a good job as Electro, but I don't think he had a reason to become as evil as he did. Just because Spider-Man couldn't remember his name, he suddenly wants to kill everyone. I mean, couldn't you come up with a better, plot than that? And why does, Rhino have to be so, like not a round character, so flat, like he's just evil. There's like nothing there. And like Harry Osborn is like barely in the movie. He barely talks to Harry. At least in the Sam Raimi films, we had this nice build up where all the characters knew each other and everything was connected. Mary Jane knew Harry. Gwen doesn't even know Harry in this film, it almost feels like. Or maybe he does know Gwen. I mean, he talks about Gwen a little bit. They have a little conversation about Gwen. But like Gwen doesn't even talk to Harry in the movie. And I always like those scenes where, they have, the villain in the room with the characters, with the mask off basically. Just talking to them. I mean, I wanted a scene with Harry and Gwen and Peter together. I wanted that, but I didn't get that. I just got him calling the freaking Green Goblin, the Green Goblin 2, without even having his father appear before him. No, that's not what happens in the comics. He's the Green Goblin 2. Green Goblin, the Green Goblin 2, and then there, of course, there's the Hobgoblin, right? And we all know that the Hobgoblin's not even related to the 2 Green Goblins. But they just gotta skip the first Green Goblin, go to the second one? I mean, seriously? I don't know what the heck Mark Webb was thinking. The original Green Goblin is like the Joker to Spider-Man, basically. I love the Amazing Spider-Man comics. I own tons of them. I read them when I was like 12 all the way up to when I was like 15. I own a whole bunch of comic books of Spider-Man. And I love reading Spider-Man comics, And this movie was just such a letdown to me. I mean, seriously. Oh, and everyone's saying, they're going with the comics, Gwen had to be out of the way because, the whole thing with, Mary Jane. Yeah, I get that. Gwen had to die, basically. But did she have to die at the hands of freaking Harry Osborn? Seriously? Why couldn't you get the freaking original Green Goblin to kill freaking Gwen Stacy? That would have been awesome. But no, you guys had to have the freaking Harry Osborn Green Goblin look like a freaking troll and kill freaking Gwen Stacy. Totally pissed me off. At least they got the whole part with like Spider-Man trying to save her with his web and like her dying. I mean, that was kind of cool because they paid homage to the comics. But having her die at the hands of Harry Osborn without even showing the original Green Goblin just totally pisses me off. I did not like that. And now I'm hoping that the original Green Goblin does make an appearance in one of these movies eventually. And the Green Goblin didn't even have a Green Goblin laugh in the movie. He has that cackle, ha ha ha. Like that's in the comics, okay? At least Sam Raimi got that right. He had his whole like freaking samurai warrior basically look to his Green Goblin with like the mask and everything. This one's just like a mutated Harry Osborn, looks like a freaking troll with this like freaking claws coming out. He's not even freaking green. He doesn't even look like the Green Goblin. All he's got is the freaking eyes. I mean, couldn't you make him look more like the Green Goblin? And couldn't you have the real Green Goblin and then bring, Harry as, bring on his father's legacy? Oh, I guess that's because you don't want to remake Sam Raimi series because he did that perfectly. So you're just gonna totally like, try something different and like make me angry. I mean, I give you props for trying to be original, but without the original Green Goblin, it really pisses me off. It's like if they had the Joker 2 before the original Joker. That would just make no sense. I don't want that Joker clone. I want the original Joker, and then you can put the Joker 2 in there to avenge his father. There's no avenging his father in this movie. It's just freaking Harry Osborn becoming the Green Goblin, basically. There is no freaking original Green Goblin. Or at least he hasn't showed up yet. Maybe he will, right? So anyways, we're getting the Sinister Six coming up pretty soon. So maybe that'll be cool. But if I was to rate this movie out of 10, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed the film, but did I think it was that great of a movie? No, I hated the ending. I didn't like Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin. I think it has probably the worst ending I've ever seen in a comic book film. And that's not good. So I'm hoping that Mark Webb steps up his game, gets some better writers, and does not end next time on a fight scene between Spider-Man and another villain. I'm hoping it's not going to be like, whoa, and then, you know what I mean? Like, woo, like, seriously, you got to end with like Spider-Man in the mid-air about to punch Rhino in the face. Oh yeah, we all know how that ended. Spider-Man won. Big whoopie-doo-dah-day. Let's try out Rhino first. That's what Harry's saying. Big deal. I mean, seriously. I would have loved it if they had the real, Green Goblin from the comic books in this. Like with the original, like Green Goblin face. That would have been awesome. But they had to go with the freaking troll face, Harry Osborn. At least Electro was cool in this movie, though. But his reason to become Electro was just stupid. And Emma Stone does a good job in this movie, of course. I mean, she's pretty good as Gwen Stacy. And Andrew Garfield's alright, but I almost feel like Andrew Garfield's a little bit too smooth and suave in this movie. At least in the first movie, it felt more like Peter Parker is getting beat up and stuff. It felt more more like Peter Parker. Where in this film, it's just like, I'm smooth, I'm suave, I got lots of money, I got a Sony cell phone, I'm talking on my cell phone as Spider-Man. I don't want to see Spider-Man talking on his freaking cell phone while he's fighting someone. I want to see Spider-Man being Spider-Man. So that really bugged me, But seeing, Spider-Man's backstory about his parents was pretty cool, though. I still think Andrew Garfield does an okay job as Spider-Man. But I don't think he's anywhere half as good as Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. Because Peter Parker is basically a nerd, basically, okay? And he's got this really, deep side to him where, he's really, like, depressed and I don't know. I just didn't see that in this movie. I didn't see Peter Parker. I didn't see the struggle with him trying to pay for rent or anything. I mean, hopefully in the next movie we see a more depressed Spider-Man because Gwen Stacy's dead, and I hope that they make that more emotional, basically. And I'm hoping that the actress that plays Mary Jane does a really good job. And I'd like to see a whole like love triangle between like Black Cat and like Mary Jane. That'd be really cool. because Black Cat's my all-time favorite character that fights with Spider-Man against the villains, right? But Mary Jane and Black Cat are my favorite. I mean, Gwen Stacy, like, she was just, I don't know, I never really liked her character because, like, she came from, like, a perfect family. There was nothing interesting, where Mary Jane, there's, like, she comes from, like, a broken family, and that's what I like about her character. So I hope that in the sequel that we get that whole Mary Jane coming from a broken family, basically, thing. I'm hoping we're going to get a lot more drama, because I like drama. I like messed up stuff going on with characters. I don't like them coming from the perfect family. And, you know, what happened to Gwen Stacy's mom anyways? Like, where was her mom, you know? And I don't know, like, there wasn't that much about Peter Parker in this movie. It's just mostly concentrating on, like, Spider-Man. And when you make a Spider-Man film, you gotta concentrate on, you know, Peter Parker, and then also concentrate on Spider-Man. I don't know. If I was, you know, like I said, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, the action was great CGI, but really terrible ending. Really horrible. I am gonna hope that the Amazing Spider-Man 3, or the Sinister Six movie, whatever you call it, is going to be amazing. And I hope that they have more runtime with Paul Giamatti as Rhino or something, even though I didn't really enjoy Rhino that much. I thought he was the most flattest character I've ever seen in my life on screen. And I would at least like to see just a little Rhino fight at the end, like a 10-minute scene or something, but we got nothing. Just ends on like freeze frame. It totally makes me mad. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for this movie. Check it out. Not gonna highly recommend it. Gonna wait till this film is about $10 to buy on Blu-ray, and then I'll pick it up. But I ain't gonna pay $30 or $29 for this movie. I didn't even get an ending. If I'm gonna get an ending and for a movie, it better have an ending, because it better not be a freaking opening ending. That's okay for dramas like The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke and all that, where we don't know what happens and we just speculate. But when they end with Spider-Man in midair about to fight the Rhino, that's like giving the middle finger to all the fans out there. And you know what I'm talking about, Spider-Man fans. You know what I'm talking about. And if you're watching this, Mark Wood, never, ever end on open ending again. It's okay to end with Spider-Man going out to go do something, but ending on a villain just really pisses me off. So please learn from this, and a Sinister Six, you know, please let us see some action, okay? At the end of the film. Don't end with Spider-Man about to fight someone, alright? And that's my review. Have an awesome night.